Begin with a look at a very unusual front page today of the Wall Street Journal. The blank space symbolizing the articles and reports missing from their reporter, Evan Gershkovich, he would have filed over the course of the last year. That's how long he's been wrongfully detained in Russia, for 1 year now, on espionage charges. Today, President Biden released a statement saying, quote, "As I have told Evan's parents, I will never give up hope either. We will continue working every day to secure his release, and we will continue to stand strong against all those who seek to attack the press or target journalists, the pillars of free society." This week, a Russian court extended Gershkovich's pre-trial detention at least until June 30th. And it's still unclear when Gershkovich may be freed or whether a trial will be held at all. Okay, panel, 1 year. What does this say about, number one, the efforts to try to free him? And number two, what Vladimir Putin is up to? Is he a bargaining chip, Aaron?
Oh, absolutely. Vladimir Putin sees this as another opportunity to hold something over the head of the United States. And given the geopolitical disaster that is the Biden administration, you can look at any number of things, Nord Stream 2, the capitulation on that, empowering Putin, emboldening Russia. This is another opportunity for Russia to thumb their nose at the United States and say that we are no longer the power because Joe Biden's at the helm.
I have to strongly disagree with her assessment that somehow Biden is empowering Putin when the Democrats and Biden are the ones standing up to fund and defend Ukraine, to push back against his aggression in the region. I think if you look at the president's, well, number one, it's a reminder to how grateful we are to live in a democracy where we have freedom of the press. But if you look at the president's statement, the last sentence was particularly interesting because he said to all those who target the press. Clearly a dig at President Trump, who is known to attack the press.
Etc. All right. What do you think, Kurt?
I mean, ultimately, the result is what matters. So as long as, anyone who's been taken hostage is still under Russian and Putin control and being kept under these bogus claims, people are going to blame the president. It just as if he gets released, the president will get the credit for that as well. But until there's a result, we're going to keep having this conversation in circles.
The American people, how often do you think they think about Evan? It's a tough question to ask, but I'd like to ask.
I think it's been really top of mind for a lot of people because it keeps getting shown by the media. We're all standing in solidarity. Everybody sees this. And we have the number of people abroad that are being detained. It's not just Evan.
Soon,
And I think it's just really important to remember that. And I do think that Joe Biden is going to pay the price for this. I think that a lot of people look at this and you see his polling numbers on foreign affairs, and he just does not poll as well as Donald Trump.
I do think that Brad makes a good point, though, that as long as it's the Republicans who are right now the reason why the war in Ukraine is not going to be continued to be funded.
The reason there is a war in Ukraine is a direct reflection of Joe Biden's geopolitical nuisance.
That's all fine. I'm just saying, as long as the narrative is, hey, there is an effort to try to fund this war to back Ukraine, and if the Speaker of the House puts the bill on the floor, he might lose his job. That's where we're at right now. That's what's actually happening.
Your contention is that the administration isn't doing enough?
Yeah, absolutely. The reason there is a war and emboldened Russia is because of the capitulation by Joe Biden on Nord Stream 2, by allowing Russia to circumvent Ukraine and be able to move natural gas to Germany. Russia was able then to invade Ukraine because they didn't need them in the same way anymore. The fact that we are seeing our geopolitical foes on the rise is a direct reflection of the geopolitical failures of the Biden administration.
Militarily, Russia thinks they can invade, and they did. They would have done no matter who was president. There is only one candidate running for president who is unabashedly defending money and funds and support for Ukraine to defend itself against Putin aggression, and one that's calling out. But real quick to your point about Evan and about that, do the American people care enough? Unfortunately, because of Donald Trump, there's a huge swath of the American people that have no respect for journalists, who think they're somehow nefarious in efforts. And so because of that, I think it's gotten less attention than, say, Brittany, the basketball player who was released and got a lot of publicity around it. I think people remember that a little more. Unfortunately, this is a big problem.
Thank you for watching. And make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.